So welcome to the FFL Solidity team call. Today is August 18th, 2022, and we are officially in week 4 of August. So super exciting for that. It's going to definitely be a huge month. I know a lot of you guys have been out there working hard towards your goals and definitely see that. But without further ado, before we kind of hop into anything else, we have a very special guest on with us today. We have Jamie Chirio on with us, and I'm super excited to have him on, as I think the value he's going to be able to add to each and every one of us really is invaluable. And I haven't had the chance really to talk to Jamie a whole lot, but being able to see him on different podcasts and on the Monday Morning Wake Up podcast not too long ago, I just know that so much value is going to come out of this call. So if you don't already have a pen and paper, go ahead and grab one. And without further ado, Jamie, how are you doing?
I'm phenomenal. I'm up here in Vancouver, Washington with the Family First Life Northwest team. We've actually got Paul coming out to Portland tonight, so I wanted to make sure to come out and get to spend some time with him. So very excited for that, and just dialing away and doing team trainings back to back to back, and excited to be here.
Awesome. So just a normal Thursday, right, Jamie?
Today's a little bit more of a hectic Thursday than normal. I'm usually dialing from home. I live kind of in the middle of nowhere here in Oregon, so it was kind of far for me to get to this office. I had to get up at like 4 a.m. to get here this morning. But I got my 9-10 appointments booked before noon. Started doing the team trainings, and I'll do a couple more after we jump off of here.
Love it. And you're just growing so much on the personal production side, but also on the building side. And it's really exciting to see. But before we jump into that, Jamie, tell us a little bit about your background, kind of an intro, if you will. Who are you? What were you doing before Family First Life, and what got you into the insurance industry?
Absolutely. So I have been with Family First Life now for just over 2 years. I'm 29 years old. I live in Albany, Oregon currently. In about 30 days, my wife and I are relocating to Greenville, South Carolina. So a completely other side of the country. Going to be helping launch that Greenville office out there. So if you guys know anybody out there, send them to us. But I have been not an entrepreneur, but like what I now look back and call a wantrepreneur for a little over 10 years. I was in the direct sales and network marketing industry for a long time. That's where I met Grady Polson. I'll dig into that here shortly. And I owned a digital marketing agency. And then most recently, I worked for Family First Life as a staff member, and then became an agent and agency manager. So I got started in entrepreneurship when I was 18 years old. I was going to school at Michigan State University, did not finish school. So I want to make sure to just say that you do not have to have a college degree to be successful in life. It's very possible for anybody who's willing to work hard. I got involved in direct sales. That's where I met the Polson family, not just Grady, but actually his parents. His parents were some of my first mentors when I was 18, 19 years old. And we were selling healthy energy drinks to college students. And we built up a team of close to 10,000 college students selling our product all around the country. And it was super lucrative. I made 6 figures when I was 18, 19 years old. But the problem was we were the loudest company in that industry. And when you're the loudest company in that industry, they decide to set new regulations based on who's the loudest. So our company became the example, and that company got shut down and, pretty much lost everything overnight. So I was 21 years old. I had made, multiple 6 figures, but no one ever taught me you had to save for taxes. So I owed the IRS quite a bit of money, and I had a company paid for car that really wasn't company paid for. They gave me a monthly allowance in my commissions that allowed me to pay for a company car. And so when the company shut down, I still had a $800 a month BMW payment. So when you lose everything, that's pretty big. So jump from kind of direct sales company to direct sales company for quite a few years. Every time that you jump from one company to the next, when you have a team and you're bringing them with you, your team cuts in half every single time you jump to the next company. So, definitely find a place and stay there. I'm happy to be landed at Family First Life and not going anywhere. But jumped from company to company for a handful of years. There was so much politics in that business that I ended up, finding my way out of it. The saving grace of being in direct sales and network marketing is I met my wife in it. And then I started a traditional business in the digital marketing space. I was basically a lead vendor for roofing and solar companies. So we generated leads for roofing and solar companies so they could go knock on their doors. And when the pandemic hit, our business took a massive hit because in-home business, just like we go see people in the home or do it virtual. Well, the roofing and solar industry, they had no idea how to pivot at first. How do we do a roofing quote over Zoom? They had no idea. So pretty much all of our contracts paused or canceled, all at the same time, because we can't even generate leads right now because we don't even know how to go help them, and no one's letting us in the homes. So our business pretty much went to zero overnight. And we were a 7-figure-a-year agency, and it sounds like a lot on paper. People say that and they go, "Oh, that's amazing. Congratulations." Well, I had 4 partners and 4 employees. I was the director of operations. And by the time that it was all said and done, I paid myself $2,000 a month to work 80 to 90 hours a week running the business. So it really wasn't as glamorous. I pretty much owned a job. And by the end of it, I wasn't happy. I ended up getting reconnected with Brady, not necessarily ready to sell insurance, but I was in a weird position where, my wife was working. She was doing super well as a teacher. Teachers get paid very well on the West Coast and the Northwest. So for me, I was able to say, you know what, Katie, she makes a little bit more money than me. I can just kind of live this entrepreneur lifestyle for a little bit longer, and, she'll take care of us. And I kind of became a house husband. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's you. But I was, doing the laundry, doing the dishes, making her lunch for work, doing all the things. And she was, doting on me for being this amazing husband. But at the same time, for me, I always had dreams of being a provider. That's just something I have always wanted to do, but I kind of lost the confidence, going from opportunity to opportunity and just not having, sustained that success. And then coming into my marriage with a boatload of debt when she had all of her stuff paid off, so now it's like she's the breadwinner. I've got the debt. I'm at home, so it was just a weird dynamic. I got connected with Grady. He goes, "Hey, I know that you would crush it at selling insurance. However, I don't think that's where you're at in life right now. I'm going to bring you in and I want you to be a staff member, help me with marketing and recognition, and, put your salary together with Katie's salary. You guys are going to, you're going to feel a lot more stable." And so I did that for about 6 months. And then Katie lost her job. She was a veteran teacher, but a new teacher at the school that she was at. And they didn't know how many kids were coming back going virtual versus in person. So they laid her off. So we lost over half of our income, and we lost our health insurance overnight, just at the point where we had decided we want to start a family. So I was like, okay, we need health insurance. We got to make sure we have that. So I said, you know what? I'm going to get my license. I've made one too many recognition images here. And if I see one more person helping 10 families in a week, like, I'm going to pop. If they can do it, I can do it. So I said, I'm going to get my license. I ended up studying and getting my license in 6 days because I wanted to get it done as fast as possible. People who take 30 to 45 days to get their license, I don't know why, because it's not fun. It's not like reading a Harry Potter book. It's like reading a law textbook. So I wanted to get it done as quickly as possible. 6 days, pass the test, done. Never going back. Continued education 2 times, every 2 years. That's it. So as soon as I was done with that, I got contracted as quickly as possible. I went through the boot camp. And then my goal was, I want to help 2 families a weekend. If I can help 2 families a weekend and keep my job, I will make up for Katie's income and I'll get us health insurance. If I can just do that, perfect. And everybody's different in this business. Some people come in and they figure it out very quickly. Some people, they come in and they get their butts kicked. That's commission-based sales. Commission-based sales is not easy. So I want to make sure that's the disclaimer. I happen to be someone who figured it out quite quickly. And I helped 8 families my first weekend. So for me, the light bulb went off and I said, you know what? I just need to become a student of the game. If I can become a student of the game and just get feedback consistently from people who've already done it, I'm going to get really good at this. And all that I know is that if I was able to help 8 families, what that proves to me is I can sell insurance. I'm not weird. People trust me. So if that's a fact, and I'm not even very good at this, but people somehow trusted me because I wasn't super salesy, if I just get really good at this, it's going to be a lot of fun. So I decided to become a student of the game and just put the activity in my favor. And, it's been life-changing. So just to give you guys some perspective about how you can come from, success and losing it and, get it back. I came into Family First Life recovering from a nasty bankruptcy. So through that whole time where I had a 7-figure digital marketing agency, I was going through a crazy bankruptcy. I had everything taken from me in front of my friends and family, BMW taken away, all that stuff gone, so it was very humbling. I owed friends and family money. I owed the IRS more money than I'd even care to admit. And I was on a hamster wheel trying to figure it out. I came here 2 years later. We're completely debt free. My wife's been a stay-at-home mom for almost 2 years. We've got a 1-year-old son and another son on the way right now. And, life is good. We're moving to South Carolina and, we have no debt. Every single person in my life has been paid off and apologized to for that period of my life. And, I'm square with everybody and we've actually put some money away. And it's just a crazy thing. And it's because I decided to become a student of the game in this business and take it seriously, but also I learned to become a much better steward of money. I decided that if I was going to do this, I wasn't going to have the same habits that I had back then when I was in previous opportunities. I decided when I come in, I'm going to not commingle my funds, my personal funds and my business funds. I'm going to do it correctly. So I opened up 2 bank accounts. My wife and I already had a checking and a savings. I opened up another checking and a savings, business checking, business savings. And what did I do? I put my initial lead deposit in the business checking account, and I put my deposits into the business checking account. And this was really important because I was so far behind in taxes for so many years. I said, I'm not going to do that this time. I'm self-employed. I've been self-employed the whole time. I know you have to save for taxes, so I'm going to do it this time. And I'm actually going to do it. So every time a deposit came in, didn't matter if it was $1,000 or if it was $30, I would put 30% into the tax savings. I'd wake up, I'd look at my bank account every single morning, and I would be religious about it. 30%, 30%, even if it was $100, $30 into the business savings account. I do that over and over and over again, knowing very well that if you're self-employed and you do your tax write-offs, you'll never have to pay 30% in taxes. If you do, fire your account. But I realized that, and at the end of the year, there was money left over, and I was like, oh, this is crazy. But then also, anytime that I had a bad week, had a huge chargeback, I would borrow from myself. I would borrow lead money from my business savings from putting 30% to the side, because I knew I had all year to build up that account for taxes. So I'd use that as operating expenses when I needed to. And then if I sold a big policy, next time I maybe put 40% for a couple of policies, and then it would be back in there and I'd keep going. So I just decided to do it in a different way than I previously did. Whereas before I would say, I'll just make another sale. I'll just make another sale. I'll just make another sale. And the commission's always coming back until the company shut down and there's no more commission to be made. And, I had all the liabilities, but I had no income source anymore. So here I decided I was going to do it much differently. I was going to be a much better steward of the money. And I wasn't going to start paying myself for fun things right away. I was going to leave everything in the business, and I was going to deposit just enough to pay our bills and to live comfortably into our checking account as needed. But I wasn't going to go above and beyond. If I help 40 families in a month and I only need, $5,000 to live, I wasn't going to start depositing 10 or 15 or 20 into the personal checking. I would leave that in the business, because I understood that most people on a 4-week month, they have 1 really great week, 2 average weeks, and a bad week. And the bad week was the times when I needed to borrow from myself and buy leads. And I never, ever wanted to be the person who couldn't buy leads. So for me, I looked at it as I put $1,500 in, and, that was my initial investment. And I wanted to play with house money, as quickly as possible. You go to the casino, and I'm not really a big gambler, but if you go to the casino, put 1,500 in, and I make my money back, I'm going to put that money back in my pocket. And then I'm going to play with house money. Anything profit from that point, I'm going to keep playing with. So that's what I decided to do. And then I just never stopped doing that. And of course, I've taken some breaks, but I haven't gone on, 2-3 week vacations. It's like, hey, 2 days here, 3 days there, but you work really, really hard leading into that break. And then you work really, really hard coming out of that break to make up for the time that you had off, because this business is consistency. In an advanced commission business, you have to be consistent or you will get hurt here. You will absolutely get hurt if you don't take it seriously. So
And
yeah,
you
that's
just
where
hit
we can
on
start.
so many different great points, Jamie. And thanks for kind of diving in on that, because from your background, all the way up until today, I love how you started with, I was a entrepreneur, right? Like, you're talking about these different businesses that are crazy and insane that you were a part of, or you started, or you were running. But then also on the other side of that, being able to humble yourself enough to say, you know what, I'm going to speak with Grady, see what's going on. You came in as staff. And I love what you said. You're like, I made 1 too many recognition banners, right? You were like, if they can all do this, I can definitely do it too, right? And then when you're talking about the 2 policies every weekend, you went out and you helped 7 families, that weekend. Like, to you, that probably was like a light bulb. Like, okay, I got this. It's not that deep. I'm just following the road. I'm just following the roadmap, right? Like you said, you're being an actual student of the business. And when you're an actual student of the business looks a lot different. It usually looks like a business, right? If you treat it like a hobby, it's going to look like a hobby. And the 2 different accounts, I love, and thank you for bringing that up, Jamie, because that's huge when we're self-employed. I did the same thing. I was 20 years old coming into the insurance industry, not with FFL. Nobody really talked to me about taxes. I was like, oh, this is all of my money, until the end of the year hit and the IRS was like, well, where's ours, So essentially putting that 30% away, like you said, it's almost like, if you think about it in a W-2 mindset, it's like you're putting it away because you're not going to ever have to pay 30% in taxes. And that's huge. You also spoke about delayed gratification. You're like, if I help 40 families a month, I'm not like, oh, I'm going to take the month off and go hang out with, my wife and all of our friends and go on, a tour of Europe. Like, you're getting back to work, right? Because you're building towards something, right? So with that being said, since you came in, you said about 2 years, give or take, I would say probably a little bit under that, right? Your team's grown so much. What do you think are some of the things that you've done since the beginning, or you've implemented maybe over the last 30, 60, 90, 180 days that are really helping your team see growth now?
Great question. If you're starting to build a team and you want to bring in people who actually put up numbers, like I think this is really, really important. Make sure you write this down. Productive people attract productive people. Productive people attract productive people. So what I mean by that is somebody who helps 5 families a month, most likely, I'm not saying it's impossible, but most likely will not attract a 50 family a month person. And the thing is, you've got 80% of your volume when you're building a team usually comes from 20% of your people, and 20% of your volume comes from 80% of your people. So if you want to attract that 20% that produces 80%, you have to be somebody who leads from the front. I think that's important. So anybody can try to build a team. Anybody can recruit a couple of people, get them in, and maybe somehow you recruit a couple big producers who start doing well. But if they see that you're not right there in the trenches with them, they will resent you very quickly, and they will either leave you or they will go sell enough or build a team big enough themselves that you lose your override. That is totally a part of this business. They'll resent you so much that as revenge, they will pass you, and then you won't have an override in them anymore. So I think it's just important to be somebody who is willing to lead from the front. For me, I didn't do this on purpose, but I started to learn how powerful this was, the idea of being at the top of the leaderboard. So when I first got started, I did not have the desire to build a team because I came from 10 years of building teams, and I was pretty much jaded, and I had been in everybody's direct messages so many times saying, hey, I got this new opportunity, that I was like, I'm not reaching out to anybody. If someone wants to do this, they're going to have to reach out to me. So I had no desire to build a team. I loved the fact that I could just buy leads and go to work. I could just buy leads and go to work. Didn't have to tell a soul. I tell my wife, hey, we're going to pull some money out of our savings account for leads. And that's going to be a one-time thing. I'm going to go to work, and we don't have to tell anybody. I don't have to tell the world, hey, I'm launching this new business. Support me. And if you guys don't support me, I'm going to fail. I could go to work with people who requested the information, not people I had to convince why they needed to buy my product. Basically cold call my friends and family and say, support me, support me, support me. If you don't support me, I'm going to fail. So for me, first time that I helped 10 families in a week, I got put on a leaderboard. And that was a big deal because I didn't really, have a plan to go promote it on social media, but I use social media, and I got tagged on my Instagram story. So what did I do? I reposted it. And then people were like, what, dude, you've been kind of a ghost on social media the last couple of years. And the reason I was a ghost is I was dealing with like hardcore financial hardship, didn't want anybody to know. And then I come out of the woodwork, and it's like, what's your name doing on this leaderboard? What's the leaderboard? Hey, you're in a podcast studio. What's that? You got headphones on? You in ESPN studio? Like what's happening? And people started reaching out to me. So like the easiest recruits that you can get are actually your warm market. But your warm market, they need to see that you're doing something significant. Otherwise, it's the trust me, trust me, trust me. This is a great company. Trust me, we're going to make it. Trust only goes so far, versus you can say, hey, look what I did. You can do it too. I can teach you how to do it. I can introduce you to the person who taught me how to do it. So being at the top of the leaderboard is the number one thing that I can tell you, and then staying there. So anybody can come in and they can get on the leaderboard one week, but can you stay there? Because I think that my friends and my family, they saw me do so many opportunities that they were waiting to see when I'd quit. They were waiting to see when I would jump to the next thing. And I was never much of a quitter. Most of the things were taken away from me. There's like one business taken away from me. Next business, there was some super weird politics, and we had to leave that business because it wasn't going to be best for our people. The next business, the company went bankrupt, and then I started my own business, and then the pandemic hit. So like a lot of that stuff, like I wasn't planning on quitting, but from the outside looking in, oh, what's Jamie doing now? What's the next opportunity he's involved in? Is he going to stick with it? So it's important to have that consistency, that stick-to-itiveness, and people see that because they want to know, if I join them, are they just going to jump ship on me? If I join them, are they actually going to teach me and train me? Can I trust them? Consistency breeds trust. One of the main things that I always do to try to build trust, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, I like to think it works, is I post a selfie of me in my car every Saturday, weekend warrior. to build trust that you can best believe that I'm working Saturday. I'm not going to ask you to do something that I'm not willing to do. And I'm going to be the person who's also booking my appointments right next to you. Live dials, being on with the team, being on live dials, booking my appointments right next to them, getting hung up on having people say I didn't fill it out, even though they did. People saying, I have no idea what you're talking about, even though they absolutely know what you're talking about. But it's like being next to them and having people hang up on you and them seeing that you're in the fight with them. I think that's really important. So in regards to actually, growing a team, it's coming in and becoming profitable yourself. Obviously don't wait to recruit. Obviously start recruiting right away, but I'll tell you right now, it helps if you're succeeding when you're bringing some people in because you have confidence in recruiting. It's like when you're helping 3-4 families a month, 5 families a month, 10 families a month, you're recruiting because you want to build a team because you don't want to sell forever. Versus for me, like I kind of want to sell forever, but like they're not going to let me because I love it. And it's like it's so much fun. And like when I actually get to the point where they tell me to get out of the field, I don't know what I'm going to do. They're going to have to like drag me out of the field because I do actually enjoy it. So many people, they hate dialing the phone. You got to get rid of that. I was just doing a training with, Dan and Tiffany Grunberg up here, and they said, they learned from Dom Rogers that he said, I hated dialing the phone so much that I was committed to get good at it so I could spend less time doing it. And I was like, that's so powerful. I hated dialing the phone so much that I just decided I was going to get good at it so I could spend less time doing it. So now imagine going from dialing the phone 8 hours on a dial day to being done booking your day before noon. How much different does your stress level look? Then you go, actually, I'm not just going to book 15. I'm going to spend another hour and book 18. The difference, what can happen there. So committing to getting good at those things, consistency, it breeds trust with the people that you're going to bring in. I could give you guys, different recruiting tactics, how we do social media, all that stuff. I think that's important. However, I think just who you are, the type of producer you are is going to attract the type of producer that you want in your business. Does that make sense?
It does. And that's huge too. And I agree, I love how you're talking about staying on top of the leaderboard. And it's not just about being there 1 time or 2 times. It's about staying up on the leaderboard each and every Saturday. I love how you talked about how you take a selfie in your car because it's like, I'm out there, like we're out there. And like another thing you said that was extremely important, I don't want to jump over is I'm not going to ask you to do something that I'm not going to do. So, like you said, if you're in the field on Saturday, you're taking a picture and you're like, every Saturday I'm in the field. Like, that's my schedule. Someone's like, what are you doing on Saturday? I'm like, helping families. That's what I'm doing, like, I don't know about after 9 o'clock, but, in terms of that, and then also just the fact that you are who you attract, right? If you're writing, 2,000 a month, it's not that you can't build or you can't attract somebody that's gonna, help 50. But at the same time, it's a lot less likely because they can't necessarily even see the whole opportunity if you're not exposing it as well. So
Totally.
that's huge. And I hated it so much, the dials. I hated dialing so much. I had to learn how to get good at it. And to be honest, Jamie, I think that's what happened to me. I hated dialing so much. I eventually really needed to learn to convince my mind, hey, this is going to be over before you know it. And you're a lot better than you think you are, right? So awesome. Thanks for that. That was huge. And then in terms of when you do have new agents getting started, what are some expectations that you maybe set for them and also for yourself?
I think it's important to know what they really want out of this business because I think if you guys just come at people and you set expectations of you got to be a 10 family a week producer or this isn't going to work, people don't like that. You need to know what they really need. So for me, I want to know just kind of how serious they are. If they're going to be, a part-time producer, if they want to be a full-time producer, set different expectations. If someone's gonna be a part-time producer, and let's just take, some people have weird work schedules, but let's take a traditional Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. If someone's a traditional Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and they want to start part-time, but they do have a desire to go full-time, it's like there's a difference between someone who they love their job and they're just looking for part-time income and they have no chance of their ever leaving their job. They're like, listen, I love my job. I'm just looking to do something on the weekends. Totally different conversation than somebody who goes, I have to keep my job, but I need to quit it. I need to quit this job because it's not healthy for me. I need to do something different. 2 totally different conversations. And then there's the person who just quits their job and goes full-time right away. And that's a completely different conversation too. And that's a conversation I don't really like having, to be completely honest. I would rather someone stick with what they're doing and do this part-time. So let's say the person who, wants to quit their job so bad. I'm going to talk about how I want to see them protecting 5 families per weekend for like 3 weeks in a row before they quit their job. because anybody can go out there and they can have a good week. I also sometimes want to see people around month 2 and 3, so not just, weeks 2 and 3. I want to see you around month 2 or 3 when you had your first charge back. How do you react? Because after you have your first charge back, after you get hit in the mouth the first time, can you really hang? Because if you can't hang after a charge back and go back out in the field with the exact same attitude, like nothing happened, and go help the next family, not drag that into the home. So if you start dragging that stuff into the home, you'll hit the doom loop and you can't get out of it. And then it's like everybody you talk to, you're selling out of desperation, and you don't sell anything. You don't book anything. You're not booking the ones you're supposed to book. You don't sell the ones you're supposed to sell. All the laydowns you're not even closing because you're selling out of desperation. If someone's like that, I want to know as soon as possible so I can say, hey, listen, commission-based sales might not be a good fit for you. I want to have a conversation about, hey, we've got 100 leads here. Doesn't matter what kind of leads they are. They could be 3 months old, 10 years old. If you don't have the grit to find a way to get one family helped out of 100 names and numbers, I don't think commission-based sales is a good fit for you. And that might be a harsh reality for some people. But if you cannot help one family out of 100 names and numbers, you should not be in commission-based sales. And if that's you, but you're like, you know what, I have to make it happen. Here's the deal. First, average policy size, average commission is a little over $1,000 per family helped. So you're telling me that if I bought 100 brand new instant internet leads, all I have to do is get one to break even. Okay, I buy 100 3-month-old leads. So I'm going to double my money if I get one. I buy 100 3-month or 100 1-month-old leads, I'll double my money. 100 3-month-old leads, I'll triple my money if I just close one. So closing one, somebody who closes one, even though they might not be happy with it, it gives them another shot. It gives them another try, and I go try again. And like you do it over and over and over again, you get better. And that's the part that I think too many people quit before they realize how good they can actually get. They quit in their first 60, 90 days. They have a couple hard dial days. And I think a big reason that a lot of people quit is because they don't open themselves up for feedback and they do it all alone. So they join, they say, I'm not going to go to an office, and I'm also not going to join live dials. I'm just going to figure it out. The percentage of people who figure it out is microscopic without getting feedback from somebody else. The people who have found massive success, I can guarantee you all the top producers of the company, for the most part, did not figure it out. They sought out information from somebody else who looked like they had figured it out, even though that person also sought out information from someone else who looked like they figured it out. And they just were a student of the game. That's it. They were teachable, they were coachable, they had just a burning desire and a willingness to learn to figure this out because they understood the fact that if they truly learned how to sell insurance, that they basically become their own ATM. Like you have a license to print money if you learn how to sell insurance. Then it just becomes, can I stay consistent? Yeah, I know how to sell insurance, but can I do this consistently and not get in my own way by trying to set up some weird schedule? Can I just do it consistently? So I'm having these conversations with new agents and finding out who they are, and maybe it's not deep on the first conversation, but I want to ask them questions. And if there's somebody who just wants to be a little producer because they love their job and they want to, just go out and help 2 families a weekend and they're happy with that, well, hey, let's do it every weekend. Let's do it every weekend, even if it's like there's part-time and there's sometimes. If you're part-time, I'm full-time during my part-time hours. If I only have 3 hours on Saturday, best believe I'm taking advantage of all 3 of those hours on Saturday, every Saturday, because that's the only time that I have. So you have to learn to be full-time during your part-time hours. And a lot of people, they do the sometimes thing. So I'll give you guys an analogy, and then I'll let you, ask the next thing. I'm sure a lot of you guys have read The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, or at least heard of it. He talks about, what would you rather have? Would you rather have $1 million right now, or would you rather have a penny doubled every day for 30 days? Most of you guys have probably heard this analogy before, and the answer is the penny. So you take a penny, you double it every single day, 2, 4, 8, 16. And around day 10, you're at like $10.38. And then you get up to, day 20, you're at like $10,000. You get to day 30, it's at 5.3 million. So delayed gratification, you said it. If I wait 30 days and I double the penny's at 5.3 million versus $1 million up front. Here's the different direction I'll take it though. With that analogy, we doubled the penny every day, full time. Now imagine if we doubled the penny every other day. So just part-time or sometimes. So instead of doing it 30 times, we did it 15 times every other day. The penny that was doubled every other day was worth $163 versus the penny that was doubled every day, 5.3 million. So that's the difference between your sometimes and your part-time and your full-time. And consistency is $163 versus 5.3 million. So now if you can quantify that into FFL, like who are you? You're the person who's doing it every other day. You're the person who's doing it every other week, every other month. Like now, like you just start like deducting and deducting, like it's like a penny worth of effort when you do it once a month, you know? So you just have to understand that now it's like you do it every day, every Saturday, how that compound effect works up and just how much confidence that can build. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. And that's actually a beautiful analogy. Thanks for putting that out there, because I often talk, Jamie, about how, if we're supposed to have 30 appointments each week full time, if we're running, 15 every week, we're only running a half a month, right? So it's same type of, analogy there. Whereas, like you said, like when you're full time, are you full time and you're part time? Or are you part time and you're full time during those hours? Or are you sometimes, right? If you're sometimes, I love you guys, but don't call me unless it's to figure out how to not be sometimes, right? And then you talked a lot about the grit. Find a way. If you have 100 leads in front of you, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're 13. Well, I do care if you're 13 because you have to be 18. But essentially, if you have those 100 leads in your hands and you can't pull a sale out of it, it's concerning. And it's like Jamie said, we would be wrong to not set the proper expectations of, hey, commission-based sales just might not be for you. And typically, to go back to exactly what Jamie was saying, and I know I struggled in this department for some time, it's about not opening up for feedback. Like I still struggle sometimes in that department, not a lot less often now because I've seen what it's done over the years to not reach out and reach out. And I know that every time I am reaching out, typically once I'm off that phone call or whatever it may be, I feel a lot better. And I feel like I'm actually going in a different direction or changing, tweaking, and adjusting. So, but that all does need to be consistently. So opening up, I love how you brought that up, Jamie, because people know not everybody's willing to do that. But it's definitely necessary to get the proper coaching and allowing us to get to know you and vice versa, right? So it's definitely a relationship and learning how to deal with each and every agent, but also how we deal with, one another. So thank you for bringing that up. Those are two huge points. And then how do you go about showing the opportunity to somebody who's already in the industry, but they're maybe not working with Family First Life?
That's a great question. So I've done this a handful of times, but if I'm being totally honest, and this might not be the best answer, I really love bringing people who've never been in the industry into the industry and having them have that light bulb moment. I think it's a no-brainer that if somebody's working somewhere else, I mean, there's some things that you have to, you know, I think I look at like how many messages I've received from people being like, hey, come over to this opportunity and you'll get XYZ. I just block those messages. I just completely block those messages. I don't talk to those people. That's not how I want to be recruited. So why would somebody else want to be recruited that way, especially if they're in another opportunity? I think that's super important. So for me, when it's come to recruiting people who are successful somewhere else, because I think I'm gonna try to say this in the most politically correct way possible. And if anybody else is this person, I'm very sorry. But when you recruit people that come over to Family First Life from other companies, and they weren't necessarily someone who was successful at that company, they're usually pretty easy to recruit. Usually very easy to recruit. I'm not going to say it how it's been said to me before, but in recruiting someone who's very successful at another company, there's a lot of loyalty built up. There's a lot of loyalty built up, regardless of if the opportunity, if you put them next to each other and you did brass tacks, A, B, C, X, Y, Z, Family First Life crushes them all. But there's a lot of loyalty tied up in that. So for me, I think you got to make a friend first. So coming in hot at that top recruit at another company doesn't work. They're just going to block you. Versus I follow that top recruit on Instagram and I start just interacting with some of their posts. It's a little bit more low key. So now it's like I'm liking their posts as they come out. I'm leaving a genuine comment on something, whether it's a post that they made or they put out a story. You know, if you guys have ever heard about how Nina D recruited Josh Williams, she followed him on Instagram And she started putting out genuine comments and likes and stuff on his posts. And he always talks about how she like put a fire emoji when he on his story when he like posted a bottle of cologne. And he's like, that's the one that he remembered. And he's like, I'm going to look at this Nina girl's profile. I'm going to reach out to her and see what she's doing. He obviously knew who she was, but she wasn't like, hey, your opportunity sucks, come join ours. So like just like becoming like a fan of them on social media and a supporter. And it's like you're like a supporter that has no agenda. And then like at a certain point, you just keep putting out the content that you're putting out. And they're like, that looks like a good person that I maybe could follow. Maybe I should hit them up. And it's like creates more of an attraction marketing when it comes to some of these people. Or it's like, hey, let's connect sometime, after you, had that, rapport built on social media. So that's how I would recruit somebody who's successful at another company. And I think for me, what I get really fired up about is, and I'm a little bit more bold when it comes to these, are recruiting people in other industries that are crushing it in sales. That's what gets me fired up. Taking the solar guy and having a conversation with him and saying, hey, you do understand that basically your deals sometimes take 90 plus days to get paid on. So with the solar person or real estate agent, I say, hey, I don't crap on their industry in any way. I say, hey, that's a great industry, but you should also get your insurance license. Hey, here's what a lot of people are doing. What a lot of people are doing in solar is they're also getting their insurance license and they're selling what's called a solar protection plan to every single one of their clients. And it's basically mortgage protection for solar. You just sold them a $60,000 setup. You should write them, a term CBO, to make sure that if they pass away, the solar's paid off. And they're like, that's a really good idea. And then what do? You get them in, they get licensed, they go and sell their first CBO to a solar client, and they get paid in 48 hours. And they go, why am I even selling solar? This makes so much more sense. The real estate agent, same exact thing. Real estate, right now I'm in the process of purchasing a house, and it's like, we started talking to our real estate agents in February. It's now, coming up on September, and they probably won't get paid closing until October. And they've been working us, so it's like, that's crazy. So now how many clients do you have to have in the pipeline to now get like a recurring revenue stream? So I kind of play on some of those pain points with people about how you can have income now and you can still do that. And then a lot of the times, I'm not saying, hey, quit that and do this. It's, hey, still do that, but also do this. And then those people are like, they see how quickly they can get paid, and they see that they're getting the same fulfillment out of doing this and doing that. And a lot of people just come over here full time. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. And I love how you were like, to be honest, I don't really do that a whole lot, because I'm with you. Typically the ones who are like, oh yeah, I'll come on over, they don't usually do a whole lot for just all keeping it honest here. And
Yeah.
in terms of the loyalty piece, I know that came into play for me when I was coming from a prior company, and there's a day that there's a day, but like you said, it's usually going to be that person who dripped on you. And that was me in my case, so I think, like you said, reaching out and without a motive, right? Like adding them, yeah, okay, they're in sales, they're in insurance, you're just kind of putting a light drip on them. And like you said, a genuine comment, not
Yeah.
just like, oh, that's cool, like, okay, like no one cares, that's weird that you commented that, right? But more so just staying up to them, because when you're posting and commenting on their things, they're going to eventually look at your profile per Josh Williams, Nina D, right?
And
So
now imagine you're at the top of the leaderboard.
yeah,
How do you recruit that type of talent from that type of opportunity when you're not someone worth following? So again, productive people attract productive people. It's not just like, the thing is, we can take people who have never been in sales, never been in insurance, and we can teach them a skill set. But anybody can learn a skill set. But the hardest part here is learning the mindset. So for me, I notice when I bring someone who's never been in any type of sales before, the learning curve is just a little bit steeper, because I need to teach them the skill set and I need to teach them the mindset. Versus if I'm recruiting a salesperson, and again, I have a guy on my team right now, Mike Curry, who no previous sales experience. He was repairing refrigerators 2 years ago, and he went Hall of Fame his first year. Okay, he has a GED. And he went Hall of Fame. So it's not about just recruiting salespeople. I just like recruiting salespeople because they're just looking for the best sales opportunity, and I don't have to teach them the mindset. I just have to teach them the skill set. Does that make
that's
sense?
huge. That makes perfect sense. Absolutely. Because you're like, they're already coming in here with a strong frame of mind. They've been in sales, or, full out commission, 1099, whatever it may be. You're like, they know the mindset. They know they have to get to work. So it's just the how to. All right. And just to kind of wrap the call up, last question or second to last question would be, what are your non-negotiables that you've implemented that you feel have really helped you just be a better rounded person, a better rounded business owner, and really just worked your way all the way up to board member so quickly?
Great question. So I feel I covered a couple of them, but I'll add a few more on. So um, I am a stickler about depositing 30% into the savings account every single time, no matter what deposit comes in, every single time, every single day. I'm always checking. That's number one. Number two, Saturdays are an absolute non-negotiable. I've missed a couple of Saturdays, but like some of those Saturdays were like the birth of my son and like a couple of other things. Of course, it makes sense. But Saturdays are non-negotiable. I find other days to do fun stuff because guess what? My wife's a stay-at-home mom now and I'm self-employed. So Wednesday could be Saturday, who cares? But Saturday specifically is non-negotiable. Live dials and unmuting on live dials is completely non-negotiable. When I am not unmuting, when my camera's off, I'm typically not working as hard. There's not as much accountability there. When I am unmuted, I typically try harder to book the appointment. Because I don't want to be the guy who's unmuted that's not following the system. I don't want to be the guy who's unmuted that's just like, I didn't fill it out. Okay, thanks. Have a good day. I feel like when that happens, when I'm muted and it's been a long dial day, I'm looking for layups. I'm looking for easy appointments. I'm not looking to fight when it's like 7 p.m. sometimes. So I'm muted and like people are like, yeah, I don't want it. Okay, next, versus fighting for it, which is when I'm unmuted, I always fight for it. I swing for the fences or I get hung up on. So it's like if you just force yourself to unmute, you'll actually book a lot more appointments. Believe it or not, like maybe you're nervous, but you'll book more appointments because you'll try harder. And then by trying harder, sometimes you'll overcome that objection you've never overcome before. And then you'll be like, oh, now light bulb moment, I can do this. So splitting off money for deposits, non-negotiable. Working Saturdays, non-negotiable. Being on live dials and being unmuted is a non-negotiable. And I mean, just consistency. Like I can non-negotiable to not be on the leaderboard. Like, to be honest, like you got to be on the leaderboard. You know, you got to be at the top of the leaderboard and you have to like learn to compete with yourself. Like, are you the person that hits 10 appointments and then just says, I'm done? Or are the person who says one more, one more, one more? I mean, there's times when it's dial day and it's like, I'm just going to say this. I really have to pee. Like you can't go pee until you book one more appointment. You can't have lunch until you book one more appointment. One more. Like, are you willing to compete with yourself? Hey, I just hit 17, which equals the most appointments I've ever booked in a day. I'm good. But could you hit 18 and hit a new record? Could you hit 20 just because you never have? Because 20 is a brand new bracket of appointments. Like, hey, I helped 10 families this week. Okay, I'm good. I'll just help 10 families every week. Well, what if you help 20? Like, can you learn to compete with yourself? Like, hey, I had my first 10 family week. Okay, what about your first 10 family weekend? What about your first 10 family day? What about your first 10 family home? Like, are you willing to compete with yourself and set new records? So like for me, as soon as I hit 10 families in a week, I said, I'm doing that every week.
Yeah.
I'm doing that every week. Unless there's something crazy happens, there's an emergency, I get my butt kicked so hard, which happens. I'm doing that every week. Now I am mad if I don't help 10 families over the weekend, like actually mad. And it's gotten to the point now where if I'm not helping like 7 families in a day, I'm not happy. Of course I'm satisfied, but I'm not happy because I know I can do better. I just know I can. I absolutely know I can. So like to be able to go out and help 10 families in a weekend has become the new barometer for me. But it's from doing 2,000 appointments that you get that type of barometer. And then the last thing is just consistency in your attitude. Consistency in your attitude, ups and downs, roller coaster. Can I have the same exact desire to do the work, whether I had a 20 family week or a 0 family week? Like, can I start back up and smack the reset button on the next dial day, regardless of the results? Can I forget what happened? Can I forget what happened? It does not matter what happened. It doesn't matter if I had the best week of my life or the best week I'll ever have in my lifetime or the worst week. Can I smack the reset button and say, it doesn't matter, there's more families to help? Again, I was on that, training with, the Grunbergs here, and Dan said, he goes, Jamie, what do you think is the best lead? And I thought it was a trick question. I'm like, they're all good. He goes, the next one. He goes, the next lead is the best lead. The next one. And I thought that was super powerful. So consistency in your attitude. There was this term that was taught to me in sports. It's called 68 and breezy. It was from this old quarterback back in the day. And, basically they say the way that your mind works is like a thermostat. Okay, so imagine, thermostat set at 68 degrees and it goes up in heat outside. It gets 100 degrees. What happens? The air conditioning kicks on. It brings us back to 68. Or it gets really cold outside. Out of nowhere, it starts snowing. What happens? The heat kicks on. It brings us back to 68. You have to be like that thermostat set at 68. No matter what happens, you can bring yourself back to level. 68 and breezy because it's like the perfect weather possible. You can wear a long sleeve and shorts. You can wear pants and a t-shirt. 68 and breezy is like my perfect weather. So I drive around in the car and I put my car at 68. It's like a mental thing. I like look at it and I'll have my car and I'm like 68 and breezy. That's the mindset. It doesn't matter what happens today. It's going to be a good day and it's going to be a level day. It's not going to be roller coaster high day. And it's not going to be a valley low day. It's going to be, no matter what happens, no matter how many families I help, it's just back to work. Doesn't matter, level. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. It's full of tunnel vision, and you hit on a lot of different things. So just real quick to recap, the putting 30% into a tax account, that's huge, everyone, definitely. And then Saturdays being non-negotiable. I've had my biggest days, help the most families on every Saturday that I've definitely my record-breaking day, to say the least. And then the consistency piece of it, but also the live dials. This is huge because Jamie, I know that for this group, the people who get on live dials are the people who are winning, but the people who don't get on live dials, the people that you'll get that call and it's like, hey, what do you say when somebody says this? And it's like, hop on live dials. Like live dial, it's a big deal. And like you were saying, Jamie, hey, you might be intimidated, you might not want to unmute, and it might be uncomfortable, but guess what? No one's growing in their comfort zone. So definitely huge. Live dials, guys, you got to get on there. Jamie's out there helping over 60 families a month. How many families is your biggest month, Jamie?
78.
78. Okay. Jamie's over there helping 78 families a month. And to be
I'm,
honest,
I want to just say this real quick. I hope I'm not cutting you off. It's not
you're
rude,
good.
but I don't think anybody in the entire company, other than a few people, Paul McLean, Matt Smith, and Sean Mike, I don't believe anybody other than those three, for the most part, are really better than a 20 to 30 family producer. I'm a 30 family producer. I just spend twice as much on leads as you. So nobody's really that good. If you can hit 20 to 30 families, what you've proven is that you know how to sell life insurance. You've proven that you're not weird. You're not being socially awkward. You're able to get the family to trust you, and you're able to sell insurance. If you can do 20 to 30 families, you can do 60, you can do 70, you can do 100. The person doing 100 families is spending $4,000 a week on leads. That's it. That's all that they're doing. But you have to understand, everybody who gets to 20 to 30, that's the light bulb moment. You have confidence that you can turn on the ATM whenever you want. And now it's who is going to do more activity. And leads are a direct determining factor of activity. Because if I have more names and numbers to call, I'm going to have more appointments. That's it, period. So you just have to understand that nobody's really that good. So as much as I had a record 78 family month, however many months ago that was, 64 this last month, really, again, my skill set is the skill set of a 30 family producer. I just spend 2,000 to 2,500 a week on leads.
Right. And that goes back to but your mindset is a mindset of a 60, 70 family a month producer, right? Because
Totally.
Same thing here on my end. I was helping, 15, 20, 30 families a month. All I did was increase my lead flow. And I was like you said, light bulb moment. Wow, that's all I had to do. But once you get there, it's like it starts to make sense. So I love that. And I really think that one big thing that I took away from this is the consistency of your attitude and thinking about mindset and skill set in two different boxes, because we can have one box checked, but if the other one's not good, it's not going to look good. Right.
Yeah.
And then Jamie, just to kind of wrap the call up, what are your personal goals in business to wrap up 2022?
Well, I'd like to hit Hall of Fame one more time. So I don't even know if we have this club anymore, the Millionaires Club, where you help 1,000 families. I want to join that club where I have the 1,000 family mark in my first 2.5 years. And I don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but I'd like to double our business. We're a board member right now, and somewhere in between, doubling our business, hoping to get to the level where Integrity wants to take a look. And that's obviously the goal, is to get to a point where we can do an Integrity deal. But then I've got a lot of really great agents on my team who they need to make this work. And some of them are making it work and some of them are not making it work. It's helping as many of them as possible have their best year they've ever had. That's important to me, and helping my top managers go from vice president to executive vice president, and helping, my sales managers get their logos, as many of them as possible. But a really big goal, and a goal that I think everybody should really be focusing in on, is how many people do you want to bring to the national convention?
Love it.
I think that's a big deal. So for me, I want to bring between 150 to 200 people to the national convention, in Miami. And Andrew Taylor says that for every person that you bring to the national convention, whether licensed or unlicensed, that'll be about 10 families a month. So if you bring 150 people, you should be doing about 1,500 families a month. So if you want to get a logo, bring 10 people. You want to be a vice president, bring 15 people. You want to be an executive vice president, bring 50 people. Get them there. You don't have to do any of the convincing on telling them to go all in. The event will do that. The event will either make them go all in, or it'll make them go all out. That's what I've learned with convention. You get them there, the event will make them make a decision on if this is for them or not. And a lot of the times people go there, they make decisions at events. Also, these business overview meetings that are happening all over the country, whether they seem big or small, getting people to these events, again, in person, hearing somebody's success story, people make the decision. Tonight in Portland, Paul's going to be here. Whether it's a brand new person who is not involved, or it's myself, Dan, Tiffany, any of these Hall of Fame producers that are going to see Paul, maybe somebody hears Paul tonight say something that makes one of us go to the next level. It doesn't matter whether you're brand new or you're a veteran agent. Going to an event, bringing people with you at events in person is where people make the decision to go to the next level.
100%. Absolutely. I know that that's where I made a decision. That's where a lot of this team made a decision this past year. Like you said, they're going to be all in or be all out. So no doubt in my mind that you're going to hit that personal goal in terms of families helped, doubling your business, seeing your team grow is amazing. And I love how much you care about your agents. And I think that shines through whether we do or we don't. So I definitely see that in you. And then also just, speaking about national convention, it's never too early, guys. Let's get this on the calendar now. And again, like Jamie said, how many people are you going to have there? So Jamie, thank you so much for being on today. I truly appreciate you. I hope you have an awesome rest of your Thursday and an amazing event out there in Portland. Thank you.
All right. Talk to you guys soon. Bye, guys.